The morning started like any other morning on New Sol Colony. The sun rose over the green fields where farmers grew food for 2 million people. Children walked to school. Workers went to their jobs. Nobody knew that this day would be their last. Governor Day-Wan sat in his office on the top floor of the government building. He was 58 years old and had been a soldier before he became governor. He liked his job. He liked helping people build a new life on this planet far from Earth. Through his window, he could see the city below. Tall buildings, busy streets, happy people. They had built something good here. His daughter Sohee was 19 years old. She studied engineering at the Colony University. That morning she sent him a message saying she loved him. He smiled when he read it. He did not know it would be the last message he would ever receive from her. At the defense station in orbit above the planet, Captain Hyun checked her screens. She was 34 years old and commanded 3 small warships. Her job was to protect the colony from pirates and asteroids. It was usually boring work. Nothing dangerous ever happened out here. The colony was too far from any major trade routes for pirates to bother with. That changed at exactly 9:37 in the morning. The alarm screamed through the defense station. Hyun jumped from her chair and ran to the main screen. What she saw made her blood turn cold. Ships were appearing in space around the planet. Not 3 ships. Not 10 ships. Hundreds of ships. Big ships. Warships. Ships that looked like they were built for one purpose only: killing. She grabbed her radio. Her voice stayed calm even though her hands shook. All ships, battle stations. This is not a drill. Unknown hostile fleet detected. I repeat, this is not a drill. On the planet below, alarms began to sound in every city. People looked up at the sky, confused. Governor Day-Wan ran to the emergency command center. His heart pounded in his chest. In all his years as a soldier, he had never seen anything like this. Dr. Young-mi worked in the communications building. She was 41 years old and the best at her job. She tried to contact the unknown ships. This is New Sol Colony. We are a peaceful settlement. Please identify yourselves. The response came in a language she did not understand, but the translation computer worked quickly. The words made her feel sick. You are in territory claimed by the Valthene Dominion. Your presence is illegal. Surrender or be destroyed. Young Mai looked at Governor Day-Wan. They are giving us 1 hour to evacuate the planet. Day-Wan felt his stomach drop. 1 hour? It was impossible. They had 2 million people on this planet. They had maybe 50 transport ships. They could not evacuate everyone in 1 hour. They could not evacuate everyone in 1 week. Start evacuating civilians, he ordered. Children first. Then elderly and sick. Get as many people off this planet as you can. Up in space, Captain Hyun made a decision. She knew her 3 small ships could not win against this massive fleet. But she could buy time. Every minute she kept them busy was another minute for people to escape. All ships attack formation, she ordered. We are going to hit them hard and fast. Make them remember us. Her crew knew this was a suicide mission. They knew they would not survive. But not one person complained. Not one person refused. They were soldiers. They had a job to do. Private Ji-woo was 22 years old. He worked at a small defense post on one of the orbital stations. He watched as Captain Hyun's 3 ships charged toward the enemy fleet. It looked like 3 tiny fish attacking 1,000 sharks. Hyun's ship fired everything it had. Missiles streaked through space. Laser beams cut through the darkness. For a few moments it looked like they might actually damage some of the enemy ships. Then the enemy fired back. The first ship exploded in a ball of fire. The second ship broke apart, pieces spinning away into space. Hyun's ship, the last one, kept fighting. She fired until her weapons were empty. She rammed her ship into an enemy vessel, causing both to explode. Her last words, recorded by the defense station, were simple. Tell them we held the line. Tell them we never surrendered. Private Ji-woo watched her die. Tears ran down his face. He had never met Captain Hyun, but he would remember her forever. On the planet, the evacuation was chaos. Parents carried crying children. Old people struggled to walk fast enough. The spaceports were packed with thousands of people trying to get on ships that could only hold hundreds. Governor Day-Wan stood in the command center, making impossible choices. Which people should go, which people should stay. He felt like he was playing God, deciding who would live and who would die. His assistant told him a ship was waiting to take him to safety. He refused. I am the governor. I will be the last one to leave. Help someone else first. The hour passed. Only 50,000 people had escaped. 2 million remained. The alien ships moved closer to the planet. Then they began to fire. Bright beams of energy struck the surface. Explosions bloomed like terrible flowers. Buildings fell. Streets cracked open. Fire spread through the cities. But it was not just random destruction. The aliens landed ships and sent soldiers into the streets. They were not just killing. They were taking people, loading them onto ships, harvesting them like crops. Dr. Young Mi worked frantically at her console. She knew she was going to die. But she could still do one last important thing. She gathered all the data she could. Pictures of the enemy ships, recordings of their weapons, maps of their attack patterns, everything that might help someone someday fight back against these monsters. She compressed all the data into one message. Then she sent it using the quantum transmitter, the fastest way to send information across space. The message would reach Earth in 2 days. She hoped it would matter. She hoped someone would care. The building shook. The ceiling began to fall. Young Mi's last thought was of her sister back on Earth. She hoped her sister would be safe. She hoped humanity would remember what happened here. Up on the orbital defense station, Private Jiwoo realized his station was about to be destroyed. He ran to the escape pods. He was one of the last people to reach them. As his pod launched, he looked back at the planet. The world was burning. The beautiful green planet where he had lived for 5 years was turning black and red. He could see the alien ships landing in the cities. He could imagine the screams of the people being taken. His pod drifted in space for 3 days before a rescue ship found him. By then, New Sol Colony was gone. Every building destroyed. Every street empty. 2 million people dead or taken. The planet that had been humanity's home was now just rocks and ash. When the rescue crew brought Jiwoo aboard, he could barely speak. They gave him food and water. They treated his injuries, but they could not treat the wounds in his mind. He had watched an entire world die. He had survived when millions had not. The captain of the rescue ship sat with him. We received a transmission from the colony, from someone named Dr. Young Mi. She sent us information about the enemy. Jiwoo nodded slowly. She was brave. Captain Ha-Yun was brave. Governor Daewon was brave. Everyone was brave. But we still lost. The message is already on its way to Earth, the captain said. They will know what happened here. They will know what these aliens did. Jiwoo looked out the window at the destroyed planet. Will it matter? Will anyone care about one lost colony? The captain put a hand on his shoulder. Every human life matters. Earth will care, trust me. Earth will care very much. Jiwoo wanted to believe that. He wanted to believe that his friends had not died for nothing. That somehow, somewhere, someone would make these aliens pay for what they had done. But sitting in that rescue ship, looking at the ruins of his home, he could not imagine how. The aliens had hundreds of ships. They were powerful and cruel. Humanity had never faced an enemy like this before. What Jiwoo did not know, what he could not know, was that he was wrong. Humanity had never faced an enemy like this, but the aliens had never faced an enemy like humanity either. They had made a terrible mistake. They had killed human civilians. They had destroyed a human world, and humanity never forgets. 2 days after New Sol Colony died, Dr. Young Mi's message reached Earth. It arrived at the military headquarters in Geneva at 3 in the morning. The officer on duty read it and immediately woke up his commander. Within an hour, every leader of Earth's government was awake and reading the same terrible words. Chancellor Minji was 66 years old. She had led Earth's government for 12 years. In all that time, she had never faced a crisis like this. She sat in her office looking at the pictures Young Mi had sent. Pictures of alien warships. Pictures of a burning world. Pictures of people being taken onto enemy vessels. She called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. Within 6 hours, representatives from every human colony were connected by quantum link. Everyone saw the same images. Everyone heard Private Jiwoo's recorded testimony as he described watching his world die. The room was silent when the recording ended. Then everyone started talking at once. Ambassador Kyung-soo was 52 years old and Earth's best diplomat. He had spent his whole life solving problems with words instead of weapons. He stood up and spoke first. We must try to communicate with these Valthine. Perhaps this was a misunderstanding. Perhaps we can negotiate. Several council members agreed with him. They argued that humanity should not rush into war. They said humanity should build stronger defenses and pull back to core systems. Let the outer colonies go. Keep Earth safe. Dr. Hai-Jin listened to all of this with growing frustration. She was 47 years old and ran Earth's intelligence division. Her job was to know everything about humanity's enemies. She had spent the last 2 days studying every piece of data Youngmi had sent. Finally, she stood up. We have been studying the Valthene for 48 hours. I need to tell you what we learned. The Valthene Dominion controls 40 star systems. In the last 200 years, they have eliminated 6 other intelligent species, completely eliminated, extinct, gone forever. The room went quiet again. He-Jin continued. The Valthene do not negotiate. They do not trade. They see other species as resources to be harvested or obstacles to be removed. New Sol was not a mistake. It was not a misunderstanding. It was deliberate. They knew it was a human colony. They attacked it anyway. Admiral Tae-hyun had been sitting quietly, listening. He was 61 years old and commanded all of Earth's military forces. He had fought in the wars that unified Earth 50 years ago. He knew what war cost. He knew how many people died. He hated the idea of starting another war, but he also knew when war was necessary. He stood up slowly. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, but everyone listened. I have been a soldier for 40 years. I have seen friends die. I have ordered men and women into battles they did not come back from. I know what war means. I know the price we pay. He looked around the room. But I also know what happens when we ignore evil. When we pretend monsters will leave us alone if we just stay quiet. The Valthene killed 2 million humans. They took our people like cattle. They burned our world. And they will do it again. And again, until we are extinct just like the other 6 species they destroyed. His voice got louder. We have 2 choices. We can hide and hope they forget about us, or we can show them that humanity is not prey. We are not cattle. We are not going to disappear quietly into history. If they want to fight us, they will learn what it means to fight all of humanity. The room erupted in arguments. Some agreed with Tae-hyun. Others thought he was crazy. How could humanity fight an empire that had destroyed 6 species? Chancellor Minji raised her hand for silence. Bring in Private Jiwoo. I want the council to hear from him directly. Jiwoo entered the council chamber. He was still pale and thin from his ordeal. His hands shook slightly, but he walked to the center of the room and stood straight. Chancellor Minji spoke gently to him. Private Jiwoo, we need you to tell the council what you saw. In your own words. Jiwoo took a deep breath. Then he began to speak. His voice was quiet at first, but it grew stronger as he continued. He described watching Captain Hyun sacrifice herself. He described seeing the cities burn. He described the alien ships landing and taking people. I heard the screams over the radio, he said. Children screaming for their parents. Parents screaming for their children. Governor Daewon trying to keep everyone calm even though he knew they were all going to die. He pulled up a video file on the main screen. I recorded this from my escape pod. Watch. The council watched. The video showed alien soldiers herding humans onto ships. It showed children being separated from their parents. It showed elderly people being dragged away. It showed people being killed in the streets when they tried to resist. Several council members looked away. Some were crying. Ambassador Kyung-soo, who had argued for negotiation, stared at the screen with a face like stone. When the video ended, Jiwoo spoke again. These aliens did not see us as people. They saw us as things, resources, meat. I am asking you, the leaders of humanity, to do something. Do not let my friends have died for nothing. Do not let the Valthene think they can do this to us without consequences. He turned to leave, but Chancellor Minji stopped him. Private Jiwoo, one more question. If we go to war with the Valthene, many more humans will die. Millions might die. Knowing that, do you still think we should fight? Jiwoo did not hesitate. Yes, because if we do not fight, they will kill us anyway. At least if we fight, we die on our feet instead of on our knees. At least we show them that humans are not easy prey. After Jiwoo left, the council debated for 3 more hours. Finally, Ambassador Kyung-soo stood up. Everyone was surprised because he had been the strongest voice for peace. I have changed my mind, he said quietly. I watched that video. I saw what they did to our people. Some acts cannot be forgiven. Some threats cannot be negotiated with. The Valthene chose this. They started this war. We will finish it. One by one, the other council members agreed, some reluctantly, some angrily. But in the end, the vote was unanimous. Chancellor Minji stood and made the formal declaration. The Valthine Dominion has committed an act of genocide against the human species. Under Article 7 of the Human Charter, any attack on a human colony is an attack on all humanity. Therefore, a state of total war now exists between humanity and the Valthine Dominion. She turned to Admiral Tae-hyun. Admiral, you have full authority to mobilize every military resource of humanity. You will have unlimited budget. Every shipyard, every factory, every resource we have is now yours to command. Your mission is simple. Destroy the Valthine military capacity and ensure they never threaten another human world. Tae-hyun saluted. I understand, Chancellor. We will not fail. The next day, the mobilization began. Every human colony received the same message. Earth was calling for help. Every ship that could carry weapons, every person who could fight, every factory that could build ammunition, everything humanity had would be used for one purpose: war. Admiral Tae-hyun worked 18 hours a day coordinating the largest military buildup in human history. Ships began moving toward a central gathering point that the military called Rally Point Vengeance. Shipyards that had been building cargo vessels started building warships instead. Factories that made farming equipment started making weapons. The Valthine had made a mistake. They thought humanity was weak because humans preferred peace. They thought humanity was easy prey because humans avoided conflict. They had attacked one human colony and expected humanity to accept the loss and move on. They did not understand humanity at all. Humans did prefer peace. Humans did avoid conflict when possible. But when humans were pushed too far, when their families were threatened, when their people were killed, they became something else entirely. They became dangerous. Private Ji-woo volunteered to return to active duty. The doctors said he was not ready. He had nightmares every night.
He could not sleep without medication.
But he insisted. I need to go back, he told them. I need to see this through. For Captain Ha-yoon, for Governor Dae-won, for Dr. Young-mi, for everyone who died. The doctors finally agreed. They assigned him to Admiral Tae-hyun's flagship. He would be a weapons officer, one of hundreds aboard the massive ship. It was not a glamorous job, but Ji-woo did not care. He just wanted to help. 6 weeks after New Seoul fell, Admiral Tae-hyun called a meeting of all his senior officers. The fleet is ready, he announced. We have 8,000 warships, 15,000 support vessels. This is the largest military force humanity has ever assembled, perhaps the largest force any species has ever assembled. He pulled up a star map. The Valthine home system is here. 47 light-years from Earth. We will jump directly into their territory. We will not give them time to prepare. We will show them what happens when you attack humanity. One of his officers asked, What are our rules of engagement? Tae-hyun's face was hard. Destroy every military target, every warship, every military base, every weapons factory. But do not harm civilians. We are not the Valthine. We do not wage war on innocent people. We will show them the difference between justice and genocide. The fleet began its final preparations. Soldiers said goodbye to their families. Engineers checked every ship one last time. Weapons were loaded. Food and fuel were stored. Everyone knew that some of them would not come back. War always had a price. Fleet Admiral Bora stood on the bridge of her flagship and watched the ships arrive. Every day more ships appeared at Rally Point Vengeance. Warships from Earth, carriers from Mars Colony, destroyers from the outer settlements, even civilian ships hastily fitted with weapons and armor. Bora was 55 years old and had commanded fleets for 20 years. But she had never seen anything like this. Thousands of ships gathering in one place, all for one purpose: to avenge New Seoul Colony and make sure the Valthine never attacked humanity again. She watched a converted mining ship dock at the repair station. The ship had been used to drill asteroids for minerals. Now it carried missile launchers. Its crew were miners, not soldiers, but they had volunteered anyway. Everyone wanted to help. Captain Sung-ho worked in the Tactical Planning Center. He was 38 years old and one of the best strategic minds in the fleet. Admiral Tae-hyun had given him an important job: figure out how to beat the Valthine. The problem was simple. Valthine warships were bigger and more powerful than human ships. One Valthine battleship could destroy 3 human cruisers. The Valthine had destroyed Captain Ha-yoon's 3 ships without even slowing down. But Sung Ho had an idea. We cannot match them ship for ship, he told his team. But we do not need to. We have something they do not have. Numbers, coordination, and the willingness to sacrifice. He pulled up a simulation on the screen. Look, one Valthene ship can destroy 3 of ours, but what if we send 30 ships against one of theirs? What if we surround them? Attack from all sides? They cannot shoot in every direction at once. His team studied the simulation. It worked. But it meant a lot of human ships would be destroyed. A lot of humans would die. I know, Sung Ho said quietly. War always costs lives. But this way we win. And winning means saving future colonies from what happened to New Sol. In the research labs on Titan, engineer Jae Sung worked on a different problem. He was 44 years old and specialized in weapons development. His job was to find a weakness in Valthene technology. He studied the data Dr. Young Mi had sent. The scans showed Valthene shields were incredibly strong. Normal weapons just bounced off. But Jae Sung noticed something interesting. The shields used quantum field generators, and quantum fields could be disrupted. He worked for 3 weeks straight, barely sleeping. His team thought he was crazy. But finally he had it. A missile that could disrupt quantum fields. It would strip away Valthene shields and leave their ships vulnerable. How many can we build? Admiral Tae-hyun asked when Jae Sung showed him the prototype. Thousands, Jae Sung replied. Every factory in human space is ready to start production. We can equip the entire fleet in 4 weeks. Tae-hyun smiled grimly. Do it. The Valthene think their shields make them invincible. Let us show them they are wrong. Private Jiwoo trained with his new crew aboard the flagship Retribution. He learned how to operate the weapons systems, how to coordinate with other ships, how to stay calm when alarms were screaming and the ship was shaking from enemy fire. The other crew members knew his story. They knew he was the sole survivor of New Sol. Some of them treated him like a hero. Others avoided him, not knowing what to say. Jiwoo did not care either way. He just focused on his job. One day, Fleet Admiral Bo-ra visited the weapons deck. She stopped at Jiwoo's station. Private Jiwoo, I have read your file. You have been through hell. Yet here you are, ready to fight again. Why? Jiwoo looked up at her. Because someone has to, ma'am. Because if I do not fight, then Captain Ha-yoon died for nothing. Governor Daewon died for nothing. Dr. Young Mi died for nothing. I cannot let that happen. Bo-ra nodded. I understand. We will make them pay for what they did. I promise you that. While the military prepared for war, Dr. Hyejin's intelligence teams gathered information about the Valthene. They sent spy drones into Valthene space. They intercepted communications. They mapped every Valthene military base and shipyard. What they learned was disturbing. The Valthene Empire was vast. They controlled 40 star systems. They had eliminated 6 other species in the past 200 years. They were powerful, ruthless, and confident. Too confident. They do not even have scouts watching human space, Hyejin reported to Admiral Tae-hyun. They destroyed New Sol and then forgot about us. They think we are too weak to retaliate. They have no idea we are coming. Tae-hyun smiled coldly. Good. Surprise is a weapon too. We will use it. 6 months after New Sol fell, the fleet was ready. 8,000 warships, 15,000 support vessels, 3 million soldiers and crew members. It was the largest military force humanity had ever created. Admiral Tae-hyun called all his senior officers to the flagship. Fleet Admiral Bo-ra was there, Captain Sung Ho, Engineer Jae Sung, Dr. Hyejin, and dozens of others. They gathered in the main briefing room. Tae-hyun stood at the front and looked at them all. 6 months ago, the Valthene Dominion destroyed New Sol Colony. They killed 2 million humans. They took our people like animals. They thought we were weak. They thought we would accept their attack and do nothing. His voice grew harder. They were wrong. Today we show them what humanity really is. We do not start wars. But when someone attacks us, when someone kills our people, we finish wars. Completely. Totally. Without mercy. He pulled up a star map. This is the Valthene home system. Their capital world. Their military headquarters. Their shipyards. We are going to destroy all of it. Every warship. Every military base. Every weapon they have. But remember, he continued, we are not them. We do not kill civilians. We do not attack innocent people. Our targets are military only. We will show the galaxy the difference between justice and genocide. He looked around the room. Some of you will not come back. War is never clean. People die. Ships are destroyed. But you will die knowing you defended humanity. You will die knowing you made the Valthine pay for their crimes. You will die as heroes. Nobody spoke. Nobody needed to. Everyone understood what they were doing. Everyone accepted the risk. Return to your ships, Taehyun ordered. We jump in 6 hours. Time to show the Valthine what happens when you anger humanity. The officers returned to their ships. Across the fleet, crews made final preparations. Weapons were checked one last time. Engines were tested. Pilots ran through their procedures. Everyone knew this was it. This was the moment everything had been building toward. Private Jiwoo sat at his weapons console. His hands were steady now. His fear was gone. He thought about Captain Hyun, about Governor Daewon, about Dr. Youngmi, about all the people who had died. He was ready. 6 hours later, Admiral Taehyun gave the order. The entire fleet activated their jump drive simultaneously. Space folded, reality twisted. For a few seconds, the ships existed in multiple places at once. Then they emerged at their destination, the Valthine home system, 47 light-years from Earth, right in the heart of enemy territory. The Valthine detected them immediately. Their sensors showed thousands of ships appearing out of nowhere. At first, they thought it was a malfunction. No species had ever brought such a massive fleet into Valthine space. It was impossible, but their sensors were not malfunctioning. The human fleet was real, and it was here for war. Admiral Taehyun opened a communication channel. He broadcast on all Valthine frequencies, speaking in their own language. His message was simple and direct. People of the Valthine Dominion, 6 months ago you destroyed our colony. You killed our people. You thought we were weak. You thought we would not respond. You were wrong. We are humanity, and we have come for justice. He paused. You have 1 hour to surrender. Deactivate your weapons. Power down your ships, or we will destroy you. Choose wisely. The Valthine response came quickly. Their supreme commander, an old warrior who had never lost a battle, laughed at the human message. Surrender? To these primitives? Never. The Valthine fleet began moving into attack formation. 400 warships, more than enough to handle any threat. They had destroyed 6 species with fleets like this. They would destroy humanity too. Admiral Taehyun watched them prepare for battle. He felt sad. The Valthine had 1 hour to choose peace. They had 1 hour to accept justice. Instead, they chose war. Very well, he said quietly. They made their choice. All ships prepare for battle. Show them what humanity can do. The hour passed. The Valthine did not surrender. They did not power down their weapons. Instead, they charged forward, confident in their superiority. They would soon learn that confidence was not the same as wisdom. They would learn that destroying human colonies had consequences. They would learn that humanity, when pushed far enough, became the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The battle was about to begin, and the sky was about to go dark. The Valthine fleet charged forward. 400 massive warships, each one capable of destroying cities. They had faced many enemies before. They had always won. Their supreme commander watched the approaching human fleet with contempt. These primitives would learn their place. Then the humans opened fire. The first wave of missiles streaked through space. Thousands of them. The Valthine activated their shields, confident the missiles would bounce off harmlessly. They had done this 1,000 times before, but these were not normal missiles. These were Engineer Jae-sung's quantum disruptors. When they hit the Valthine shields, something unexpected happened. The shields flickered, wavered, then collapsed completely. For the first time in their history, Valthine warships were vulnerable. The second wave of missiles hit bare hull. Explosions bloomed across Valthine ships. Armor cracked. Systems failed. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before were suddenly dying. The Supreme Commander stared at his screens in disbelief. Impossible. Our shields never fail. But they had failed. And now the real attack began. Captain Sung-ho's tactics proved devastatingly effective. The human fleet did not fight ship against ship. Instead, they swarmed. 30 human ships surrounded each Valthine warship. They attacked from all sides at once. The Valthine could not shoot in every direction. They could not defend against so many attackers. One by one, Valthine ships were overwhelmed. They fought bravely. They destroyed many human vessels. But for every human ship that fell, 20 more took its place. The math was simple and brutal. Humanity had brought 8,000 warships. The Valthene had 400. It was not even close to a fair fight. Fleet Admiral Bora commanded from the bridge of the Retribution. She watched the battle unfold on her screens. It was going exactly as planned. Human losses were higher than she wanted, but they were acceptable. The Valthene were being destroyed. "Target the command station," she ordered. "I want that destroyed next." The Retribution moved forward, leading a squadron of 50 ships. The Valthene command station was massive, bigger than some moons. It held their supreme commander and all their military leadership. Destroying it would cripple their ability to coordinate. Private Jiwoo sat at his weapons console. This was the moment he had been waiting for. The moment he could strike back at the aliens who had destroyed his home. His hands moved across the controls, locking targeting systems onto the command station. "Weapons locked," he reported. Bora looked at him. She knew his story. She knew what this meant to him. "Private Jiwoo, you have the honor. Fire when ready." Jiwoo's finger hovered over the trigger. For a moment he thought of everyone who had died. Captain Hyun, who had sacrificed herself to buy time for others. Governor Daewon, who had refused to evacuate while his people were still in danger. Dr. Young-mi, who had sent the message that brought this fleet. He thought of his friends, his neighbors, all the people of New Seoul Colony. He thought of So-hee, Governor Daewon's daughter, who he had seen in the university cafeteria just the day before the attack. "This is for New Seoul," he whispered. Then he pressed the trigger. The Retribution's main guns fired. Energy beams, powerful enough to crack planets, struck the command station. Other ships in the squadron fired too. For 3 seconds, the command station was hit by more firepower than some wars had ever seen. The station's shields held for exactly 1 second. Then they collapsed. The armor melted. The structure broke apart. And then it exploded, a brief new sun in the darkness of space. The Supreme Commander died in that explosion. So did all his top generals and admirals. The Valthene military leadership was gone in an instant. On the surface of Valth Prime, the Valthene homeworld, civilians looked up at the sky. They could see the battle. They could see the explosions. They could see their mighty fleet being destroyed. And they could see something else, something that filled them with terror. There were so many human ships that they blocked out the stars. The night sky, which should have been filled with starlight, was instead filled with the hulls of warships. The sky had gone dark. The battle continued for 14 hours. It was not really a battle anymore. It was an execution. The Valthene fought desperately. They knew they were losing. They knew they were going to die. But they fought anyway because they did not know how to surrender. Some Valthene ships tried to escape. They powered up their jump drives, trying to flee to other systems. But humanity had planned for this. Human ships were positioned at every possible escape route. No one was allowed to leave. No one was allowed to warn other Valthene forces about what was happening here. When the last Valthene warship was destroyed, Admiral Taehyun ordered his fleet to target the military installations on the surface, shipyards where warships were built, weapons factories, military bases, training facilities.
Anything that could be used to rebuild their fleet. Orbital bombardment began.
Precise strikes from space destroying military targets. The Valthene tried to evacuate their personnel. They tried to save their equipment. But it was too late. Everything was destroyed. Throughout all of this, Admiral Taehyun was careful. Civilian areas were not targeted. Hospitals were not hit. Schools were left alone. This was a military operation, not genocide. Humanity would not become the monsters they were fighting against. When it was over, the Valthene military was gone. Every warship destroyed, every military base in ruins, every weapon factory reduced to rubble. The Valthene Dominion, which had terrorized other species for 200 years, was finished. Admiral Taehyun broadcast another message to the Valthene homeworld. This time there was no offer of surrender. The time for that had passed. People of Valth Prime, your military is destroyed. Your fleet is gone. Your empire is ended. We had the power to destroy your entire planet. We had the power to do to you what you did to New Seoul Colony. But we are not you. We do not wage war on civilians. We do not kill innocent people. His voice hardened. But understand this. The Valthene Dominion is finished. Your empire will be dismantled. You will release all prisoners from all species you have captured. You will provide full records of every species you have eliminated. You will pay for your crimes. These are not negotiations. These are the terms of your survival. Accept them, or we will return and finish what we started. The choice is yours. The Valthene civilian government, what was left of it, accepted immediately. They had no choice. They had seen what humanity could do. They had watched their invincible fleet be torn apart. They had seen the sky go dark with enemy ships. They were terrified. And they should be. On the bridge of the Retribution, Fleet Admiral Bora received damage reports. Humanity had lost 847 ships in the battle. Over 200,000 crew members had died. It was a terrible price, but they had won. They had avenged New Sol. They had shown the galaxy that humanity was not prey. They had proven that attacking humans came with consequences. Private Jiwoo sat at his console exhausted. The battle was over. He had survived. He had helped destroy the aliens who killed his friends. But he did not feel victorious. He just felt tired. Bora walked over to him. You did well, Private. Captain Hyun would be proud of you. Jiwoo nodded. Thank you, ma'am. But I wish none of this had been necessary. I wish New Sol was still there. I wish my friends were still alive. So do I, Bora said quietly. So do I. The human fleet remained in the Valthene system for 3 days. They made sure the Valthene followed orders. They verified that military installations were really destroyed. They collected data on Valthene crimes against other species. And they found something unexpected. In the ruins of the Valthene harvest vessels, they found survivors. Prisoners from multiple species, including humans from New Sol colony. Not many, most had died, but some had survived. Among the survivors was So-hee, Governor Daewon's daughter. She had been taken during the attack. The Valthene had kept her alive for some unknown purpose. When human soldiers found her, she could barely believe they were real. You came, she whispered. You actually came for us, the soldier helped her stand. Of course we came. You are human. We never leave our people behind. When Private Jiwoo heard that survivors had been found, he rushed to the medical bay. He saw So-hee being treated by doctors. She was thin and weak, but alive. He started crying. After 6 months of believing everyone was dead, seeing someone alive felt like a miracle. So-hee recognized him. Jiwoo, you survived too? He nodded, unable to speak. My father? She asked quietly. Jiwoo shook his head. I'm sorry. He stayed behind. He tried to save as many people as he could. So-hee closed her eyes. Tears ran down her face, but she also smiled slightly. That sounds like him. He always put others first. The battle was over. The war was won. But the work was just beginning. Humanity had shown its strength. Now it had to show its wisdom. They had to rebuild. They had to heal. They had to figure out what kind of species they wanted to be. The Valthene had learned a terrible lesson. They had learned that some species should never be attacked. They had learned that humanity, despite preferring peace, was capable of overwhelming violence when necessary. Most importantly, they had learned that when humans said they would never forget, they meant it. And when humans said there would be consequences, they kept that promise too. 6 months after the Battle of Valth Prime, the galaxy was a different place. News of humanity's victory had spread to every spacefaring species. Some were amazed. Some were terrified. All of them were cautious. Humanity had proven itself capable of industrial-scale warfare. No one wanted to be humanity's next enemy. Chancellor Minji addressed the United Earth government. The war was over, but questions remained. What would humanity do next? Would they become conquerors like the Valthene? Would they use their military power to build an empire? We face a choice, Minji told the assembled leaders. We can become what we destroyed. We can use our strength to dominate others. Or we can remember why we fought. We fought to defend our people. We fought for justice. We fought to ensure no species would suffer what the Valthene did to us. She paused. I propose we choose the harder path. The path of peace. We will help rebuild what the Valthene destroyed. We will protect species that cannot protect themselves. We will show the galaxy that strength and mercy can exist together. The vote was not unanimous. Some wanted humanity to expand, to take territory, to build an empire while they were strong. But most agreed with Minji. They remembered why they had gone to war. It was not for conquest. It was for justice. Ambassador Kyung-soo, who had once argued for peace before seeing the evidence of Valthene crimes, now led humanity's diplomatic efforts. He traveled to other species, establishing relationships, building alliances. He worked to show them that humanity was not a threat, despite their military power. It was difficult. Other species had watched humanity bring 8,000 warships to destroy one empire. They had seen the Valthine fleet, which had seemed invincible, torn apart in hours. They were afraid of what humanity might do next. Kyungsoo understood their fear. Yes, we are powerful, he told them. Yes, we can be dangerous. But we only became dangerous when we were attacked, when our people were killed, when our colony was destroyed. We do not seek war. We seek peace, but we will defend ourselves and our allies. Slowly, trust began to build. 3 species that the Valthine had oppressed asked to join a defensive alliance with humanity. They did not want to be conquered. They wanted protection. They wanted to ensure that no new Valthine dominion could rise. Admiral Taehyun established the Joint Defense Initiative. It was a coalition of multiple species with humanity leading. Their mission was simple: prevent any single power from becoming too dominant. Ensure peace through strength. Protect the weak from the strong. Fleet Admiral Bora retired after the war. She had done her duty. She had led humanity's forces to victory, but war had taken its toll on her. She was tired. She wanted to spend her remaining years in peace. Captain Sung-ho was promoted to replace her. He was young for such a high rank, but he had proven himself brilliant. His tactics had won the Battle of Valth Prime. Now he would use his skills to keep the peace instead of making war. Engineer Jae-sung returned to his research. But he no longer worked on weapons. Instead, he focused on defensive technology, shields that could protect colonies, early warning systems that could detect incoming attacks. He had seen what his weapons could do. He did not want to create more death. Dr. Hae-jin continued her intelligence work, but with a new purpose. Instead of finding ways to destroy enemies, she worked to prevent conflicts before they started. She believed that understanding between species was the best defense against war. On the ruins of New Seoul Colony, humanity built a memorial. It took 2 years to complete. The memorial was massive, covering several square kilometers. It listed every name of every person who died in the attack. 2 million names carved in stone that would last forever. At the center of the memorial stood a statue of Captain Hyun. She was depicted on the bridge of her ship, standing tall, giving orders. The inscription read, "She held the line. She never surrendered. We never forgot." Around the statue were smaller monuments to other heroes. Governor Dae-won, who stayed behind to help evacuate civilians. Dr. Young-mi, who sent the message that brought the fleet. And thousands of others who died defending their home. Private Ji-woo, now Sergeant Ji-woo, stood before the memorial during the dedication ceremony. He was joined by So-hee and the other survivors. There were only 200 of them, 200 out of 2 million. They were the lucky ones, if you could call surviving such horror lucky. Admiral Taehyun gave the keynote speech. He was old now, ready to retire. This would be one of his last public appearances. He stood at the podium and looked out at the thousands of people who had come for the ceremony. 2 years ago, the Valthine attacked this place, he began. They killed our people. They burned our world. They thought we were weak. They thought we would accept their attack and move on. They were wrong. His voice grew stronger. We learned something important from this tragedy. We learned that humanity's greatest strength is not our technology. It is not our numbers. It is not even our weapons. Our greatest strength is that we never abandon our own. When one colony fell, all of humanity responded. That is what makes us strong. That is what makes us human. We also learned that peace is precious. War is terrible. The cost is always too high. We lost 847 ships in the Battle of Valth Prime. 200,000 crew members died. And those are just the military casualties. The economic cost, the psychological damage, the families torn apart, these things cannot be measured. He paused. But we also learned that sometimes war is necessary. Sometimes evil must be confronted. Sometimes justice requires force. The Valthine had eliminated 6 species before they attacked us. If we had not stopped them, they would have eliminated us too, and then they would have continued destroying species after species until someone finally stood up to them. We stood up. We fought, we won, and now we must decide what kind of species we want to be. Do we become conquerors? Do we use our strength to dominate? Or do we remember why we fought? We fought to defend. We fought for justice. We fought to protect the innocent. Taehyun looked at the memorial at the 2 million names carved in stone. These people did not die so we could build an empire. They died defending their home. They died believing that humanity would remember them. They died trusting that we would make sure their sacrifice meant something. So we will remember. We will never forget New Soul Colony. We will never forget what was lost here. And we will make sure with every action we take that their sacrifice was not in vain. We will build a galaxy where colonies like New Soul can exist in peace, where families can raise children without fear, where species can coexist without one dominating the others. The crowd was silent. Many were crying. Jiwoo stood with tears running down his face, remembering his friends, remembering his home. After the ceremony, Jiwoo walked through the memorial with So-hee. They found the names of people they knew, friends, neighbors, teachers. Each name was a person. Each person had a story. Each story had ended here. Do you think it was worth it? So-hee asked quietly. The war. All those people who died in the battle. Was it worth it? Jiwoo thought about this. I do not know, he admitted. Part of me wishes we had found another way. Part of me thinks all war is wrong no matter the reason. But another part of me knows that if we had done nothing, the Valthine would have attacked again. More colonies would have fallen. More people would have died. He looked at her. You were there. You were taken by them. You saw what they did. Do you think it was worth it? So-hee was quiet for a long time. I think, she finally said, that sometimes there are no good choices. Only less bad ones. We could have let the Valthine continue. That would have been wrong. Or we could have fought them. That was also terrible, but less terrible than the alternative. So yes, I think it was worth it. Not because war is good, but because the alternative was worse. They walked on in silence, reading the names. Years passed. The galaxy changed. The Valthine territory was divided among the species they had oppressed. The Joint Defense Initiative grew stronger. Small conflicts still happened, but nothing like the Valthine War. The memory of what happened when humanity went to war kept most potential aggressors peaceful. 20 years after New Soul fell, Sergeant Jiwoo became an instructor at the Defense Academy. He was 42 years old now. The nightmares had mostly stopped. The pain had faded to a dull ache, but he never forgot. He taught tactics and strategy to new officers, but more importantly, he taught them why they fought. He told them the story of New Soul. He showed them the memorial. He made sure they understood the cost of war and the importance of peace. One day, a young cadet asked him a question. Sir, why do we maintain such a large military if we prefer peace? Would it not be better to reduce our forces and focus on civilian needs? Jiwoo smiled sadly. That is a good question. And 20 years ago, many humans would have agreed with you. We had a small military because we thought no one would attack us. We were wrong. The Valthine attacked because they thought we were weak. He pulled up an image of the human fleet at Rally Point Vengeance. 8,000 warships. We maintain this fleet not because we want to use it. We maintain it so we never have to use it. Our enemies know what happens when humanity goes to war. Guessing